We took it all. We brought them to our land. An endless night, ember hot and icy cold. The rage of the earth. We made this curse. Carved it in the blood on our backs. We did not see. We could not, but she did. And in the end...
What will I become?
Senua's Saga. Hellblade 2.
Play it now with Game Pass.
Andrew, I feel like you always ask me shit like this when it's something you're thinking about doing. You you want me to be the guinea pig for you, and I will not again.
Never mind. Okay, I'll just try it myself.
Report back to us. Let us know.
Welcome to Millennial, the home of pretend adulting and real talk. I'm Andrew.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Pamela.
Welcome back, Laura. You're cured of COVID?
Well, I am a lot better than I was, but I did test today just so that I could report my current status on the program.
Oh, good.
And I am still positive. I have a lighter line than I did a few days ago when I tested to be like, I was on Paxlovid for a few days. I should be good now. And I took that test. Bright pink fucking line still. I was like, God damn it. Now it's significantly faded and I feel a lot better. So
good.
I'm good.
You mentioned Paxlovid. Do you think that helped you?
It helped a lot.
Cool.
It helped so much, honestly. If you can get it, and you can get it when you're in the first 5 days of symptoms, it's totally worth it, because it mainly just made it feel like a bad cold. And I was able to just get a lot of sleep because it does make you fucking tired, man.
Wow.
I've never had it before. This was my first time, and I just felt like I was completely knocked out for a week.
I think I took it when I had COVID because we had some Paxlovid left over, and I don't remember the tiredness personally, but I'm glad it helped you in other ways.
Yeah, it was really, really helpful for sure. I feel like I was in a fever dream, honestly. I was on MuggleCast last week, and I felt so out of sorts doing that. I felt like I was going crazy. I have no idea how that recording came out, so I'm just gonna assume that you made me sound good in post.
You pulled it off just fine. Was there anything else that may have helped cure your COVID or power you through the week?
God, there was something.
It may have been that day we recorded MuggleCast, actually, which may have further helped you.
Yeah, it was something like 34 things that might have happened that day.
Yeah. You were fired up. I was getting text messages from you.
I was. So legitimately, I felt like, and I said this on Threads as well. I threaded. I never thread.
Wow, big day.
Paxlovid got her on Threads.
I was like, this cured my COVID. Because I legitimately felt like a second wind for about an hour. I was really excited and definitely felt like at least some small semblance of justice for all the fucking bullshit this man has gotten away with has finally been served. And then I felt like I got hit by a truck again. So,
you got
it was
got like a Trump
respite.
hangover.
Yeah.
So I was leaving the gym when we found out the jury had reached a verdict. And I was like, I'll have time to get home, shower, take my time. Because normally there's a pretty big gap, I feel, between hearing that the jury's reached a verdict and then it actually being read aloud. I get home, I shower, I get out of the shower, and I see my phone is blowing up. So I go over to it naked and dripping wet. And it's you two texting up a storm. I'm like, no, I don't want to miss the live reading of the verdict. So there I am naked and wet. And I'm loading up YouTube TV so I can watch at least the back half of the verdict being read live. And I'll never forget it. Wow. But that was exciting. A clean sweep. Happy Pride Month from MAGA Nation.
It was really satisfying to hear all the guilties being read out on the news.
Yeah.
I kept waiting for like one not guilty to just like throw a wrench
I
into things.
know.
And then
I
they
was
were
waiting
all
for that
guilty. And I was
too.
like, whoa.
It was funny because I know some outlets went one by one, and that was very satisfying to see those clips where they were just like, count one, guilty. And they did that for all 34.
Mhm.
I was watching WAPO's reporting, and they started out that way. And by the time they got to count 9, they were like, okay, and counts 10 through 21, guilty.
Oh,
And they just
That's no fun.
kind of lumped it all together. It was funny.
We're
They were
batching
like,
these up now.
yeah, they were like, we don't have time for this.
I was on, I think I just like turned it on to the first news channel. So it was MSNBC and they were definitely reading.
Oh my
all of
God.
it.
Yeah,
And
they were
relishing
relishing
in it too.
They were all fingering themselves all night
they were
long.
definitely super turned on.
Rachel Maddow was spread eagle all night. I was. So what does this mean, Laura? What does it mean now that he is a convicted felon? Where do we go from here?
I mean, if you thought the election year so far was a clusterfuck, buckle up. It's going to be even more frustrating now, even though this is vindicating. But something I did want to make sure to address at the top here, because there was a lot of misinformation around this. And even when we were doing the planning for this, we got caught up in it. I got caught up in it. This notion that like Trump, because he's a convicted felon, wouldn't be able to vote. But the reality of it is that it's a state felony. It's a state conviction. And that is not something that automatically bars him from being able to vote. Now, in the state of Florida, the law states that if he were to go to prison and be in prison during an election, he could not vote then. But so long as he remains out of prison, which he probably will, like this, honestly, these charges are like the least horrible things he's ever done.
Mhm.
So I don't really see him going to jail for them, though. But I still thought it was important because it is something that I think a lot of us were kind of riding on a high of the conviction and be like, fuck yeah, he's not going to be able to vote. It's like, not really, not quite. It's a little more nuanced than that when you're talking about state laws, because each state has its own laws around like what the rights and restrictions are of felons being able to vote. He was convicted in New York, but he's a resident of Florida. So there's more nuance there than just like he can or he can't. But what is funny is he can't hold public office in Florida.
That is wild to me because out of every state, I would think they wouldn't give a fuck because everything's cool in Florida.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I know, right? You would think that DeSantis would be like, let's amend our constitution. Let's just amend the state's constitution.
I was going to say maybe he's breathing a sigh of relief because let's say the presidential election
That's
doesn't work out.
true.
Maybe Trump tries to run for governor in Florida. Well, now he can't.
Right. He also can't serve on a jury, which is funny. Like, I think it's very funny that he can't hold public office in a state. He also can't serve on a jury, but he can be president. He can also be, I mean, technically he can be president from prison. He can run for president from prison. That's like uncharted territory.
Didn't
and,
Joe Exotic also run for president from prison?
Yeah.
So that's why I knew this because of that.
Yeah. But we know that he can't own a firearm. I have no idea if he does or has owned a firearm. He won't lose his passport, but 38 countries do deny entrance to convicted felons, including Canada, Mexico, the UK, China, Australia, all places that, you know, a president would presumably need to be able to go.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And something that I think is really important here, because this is a state felony conviction, he cannot pardon himself if he's reelected. I know there's been a lot of worry around, like, could Trump just pardon himself? He could pardon himself on federal charges. He can't do that on the state level. So unless he is able to successfully appeal these charges, they're not going away. They will stick. Granted, there is an appeals path for him, and he's going to pursue it, but it's probably going to take a long time because he can't just appeal straight to the Supreme Court because it's a state level conviction. He has to appeal through the state first. And if he doesn't like what the state says, then he can appeal that to the Supreme Court. And when you think about how slowly these things move, the likelihood of that happening between now and November seems slim. Not to say it couldn't happen, because we literally live in the craziest country on the planet. So it could. Like, it's amazing to me. Mexico just elected its first female Jewish president. Mm-hmm. And this is where we are.
Yeah. Hopefully one more election cycle and then we never have to deal with this crap again. I mean, this is the last election cycle where we have to deal with this matchup, these people, and then we could start moving forward to
why
younger
do
generations
you think that?
For starters.
Why do you think that, Andrew? I feel like they'll never die.
I think he's just saying that we won't have like Biden versus Trump again after this.
In 2028 or right. Hopefully Trump in 2028. Did you see what he was eating at the courthouse? Like Doritos and McDonald's?
That man has been living on a diet of McDonald's and Diet Coke for the last 40 years. I mean, he clearly has arteries of steel.
It's got to catch up with you eventually.
I was gonna say, maybe all this salt has preserved his insides, you know?
I mean,
probably.
Gosh darn it. Supersize Me guy just passed like last week.
Did he really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Of cancer, though, unrelated to the McDonald's, but still,
are we sure that's unrelated to the McDonald's? Because
fair.
Press X to doubt. I feel like there's certainly cause to be happy about this. Like, this is the justice system working the way it's supposed to work and showing that no one is above the law. It doesn't matter who you are. We can't treat it like it's some kind of slam dunk and get complacent. I know I say this every election cycle, like, don't get complacent and don't think that it could never happen again or that it couldn't be worse, because it absolutely can. 2016 should have proved that to all of us. And I guess I just worry that it's June in an election year. The time between June and November is a fucking eternity. And I'm worried about people forgetting, the story not packing as much of a punch. There will be stuff that happens, though. Like, Trump is going to be sentenced on July 11th, which I love.
Can't wait.
It's very poetic because his first debate with Biden is at the end of June, but his sentencing comes right before the Republican National Convention, where he's going to officially receive the nomination.
Yeah. I was riffing with a friend the other day. 7-Eleven, the convenience stores, should offer sentencing Slurpees on 7-Eleven, like free sentencing Slurpees. And then you can go and enjoy a Slurpee while watching the sentencing. I'm going to go to 7-Eleven on that day just to celebrate this happening on 7-Eleven. Actually, don't they give out free Slurpees on that day anyway?
Probably, yeah.
I'm going to get my free sentencing Slurpee and watch live. I can't wait for that. I don't even care if he doesn't go to prison.
He's not going to. I mean, there's already been a lot of legal analysis on this by people who know way more about these types of cases than any of us do. But like, in general, it sounds like some people have been sentenced to jail time for falsifying business records in the state of New York, but it's also not terribly common to get a prison sentence for that. So he probably won't. But if this moves the needle with undecided voters, I'll take it.
Yeah. So far, early polling seems to show it's not moving the needle too much. Like, he's been raising a lot of money off of this sentencing.
Oh, yeah.
Some people are more inclined to vote for him after this. Some people are less inclined. So it might just be a net zero.
Polling at this point doesn't mean anything, though. That's the other problem. Like, polling is so unreliable at this stage. I mean, again, look at what we were seeing in the last election and in 2016. The polls have just become notoriously unreliable because depending on what candidate you're supporting, you may be more or less likely to want to even be honest about it if you're being polled. So
True.
It's just hard to know. It's still really early too. A lot could happen between now and then.
That's a good point.
Well, until election day, we get to enjoy lots of jokes on social media. It was a very fun day on Twitter when those guilty convictions came down.
It was literally like the Twitter I used to remember. It was like the Twitter of yesteryear. I was like, oh my God, it feels like home again.
I think that's why a lot of people flocked back. They're like, this is not going to do numbers on Threads. Although Threads has pretty good engagement, but it's not the same as, getting in on the action on Twitter.
But Threads has also made no secret of the fact they're trying to suppress political conversations from popping up in your feed. So that's really frustrating. Like, I want Threads to truly be my new Twitter replacement, but I like going to Twitter/Threads for news commentary. And if they're suppressing politics, then I'm going to keep looking at X.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that said, if you follow newsy type accounts, you'll still get that news analysis, but you won't. There's less political discovery happening on Threads. That's what they're trying to steer everybody away from.
Yeah.
So, and look, hate to admit it, but there's still a lot of great people on Twitter through, just with all these like funny jokes. There's still tons of good stuff happening on Twitter every day, Trump conviction or not. So, I still love it. I'm sorry. I tried to back away, but I couldn't quit. And and nobody else could quit either. People think Twitter's dead. It's not dead. To me, it seems as busy and lively and funny as it's ever been.
Well, I'm going to go try to tie up some loose ends on 34 or so business dealings that I have in the state of New York so that I don't find myself in the same position. We'll be right back.
We took it all. We brought them to our land. An endless night, ember hot and icy cold. The rage of the earth. We made this curse. Carved it in the blood on our backs. We did not see. We could not, but she did. And in the end...
What will I become? Senua's Saga. Hellblade 2.
Play it now with Game Pass.
So today we're going to be talking about quiet vacationing, which is a term that really popped off online a couple of weeks ago. And I wanted to know if either of you had heard about this, because I think we discovered that we all might have seen the same TikTok about this around the same time.
It's funny, I just mentioned Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I had seen it on Twitter.
Oh, you had seen it on Twitter? Okay.
Yeah, but people were pissed at Jennifer, who wrote the article about quiet vacationing.
I also saw people upset at Jennifer on TikTok. Yeah.
Everyone's
about
like,
quiet
shut
vacationing.
up, Jennifer.
Right. Don't
Jennifer's the new
put us
Karen.
on blast, Jennifer.
If I was this Jennifer Lou at CNBC, I would print out some of those like tweets and, well, I guess it would be stupid to print out a TikTok and frame them. I think that'd be great.
That would
Put
be
them
pretty
in my
funny.
office.
Yeah. Well, for anyone who maybe missed the boat on what quiet vacationing is, essentially it's just going on vacation without telling your boss while you're working remotely. And this is a workaround from having to request PTO, which 78% of US workers actually say they don't take all of. This is according to an NBC report on quiet vacationing. And millennials and other younger professionals also state that they don't ask for time off the traditional way due to a number of reasons, including the pressure to meet deadlines and be productive, but also the fact that they get nervous to request out of fear for being perceived like slackers. So it sounds like our generation, and probably Gen Z as well, are just terrified of, asking for time off, affecting the way that maybe like our job security works out. And we also asked our audience about whether or not they take all of their paid time off. And as Andrew was pointing out before we started recording, this really struck a nerve with a lot of people that listen to our show. We got a lot of engagement on this. So to kick things
it
off
was like
here,
Laura announcing she has MS. I mean, we haven't seen this
I
many
know.
comments between the two posts in a while.
Honestly, you just have to touch on the people's trauma, right?
I guess
Yeah.
that must be what it is. Well, I think Laura was the one that put this post together, and you put a poll in it, which I thought was really smart. So 74% of people that voted in our poll said that they take all their PTO, which good for you. And 26% said, I don't take all of my PTO. And we asked them to explain in the comments. And again, boy, did people deliver. So there are a few that stood out to you all, right? Does anybody want to read a comment or two from our listeners here?
Yeah, well, we'll start with somebody who doesn't even have PTO. Samantha said, I don't have PTO at all. I'm a public school teacher. PTO doesn't exist. We accumulate sick days, personal days, and annual leave. I can use a sick day if I'm actually sick or up to lying. Other teachers are known for turning people in who use a sick day and then post anything on social media. Personal days can be used for whatever, but you only earn them at a rate of one a month, and you have to pay $50 for the substitute teacher. And you have to pay $50 for the subs.
That's crazy that they have to pay.
Honestly,
I didn't know that.
Teachers get the short end of the stick on so much, because when people hear about the limited amount of time off that teachers get, they'll often throw in their faces, well, you get like a 2.5-month summer vacation. What are you complaining about? And it's really irritating to hear, because teachers don't get paid for those 2.5 months because they're not teaching.
Right.
They may be taking part in conferences or planning, but they're not getting paid for that time because they're only contracted for the months of the school year. A lot of times what teachers will elect to do is spread out their paychecks evenly throughout the year. That can be an option for them so that they're still getting a paycheck in the summer. But that paycheck isn't based on them being compensated for those summer months. That's just them choosing to take a smaller paycheck throughout the rest of their working year so that they can still get one during the summer. It's fucked.
Yeah. Looking at another comment here, Allison listed off a few reasons why she doesn't take all of her paid time off, but I'll just focus on one. She said, I don't like leaving work short an employee. And I bet this is something that a lot of people feel. In speaking with a couple of friends, I know that some people resist taking time off because by the time they train up one of their coworkers to do what they have been doing, they could have just done the work themselves. And it's almost like having additional work to have to train somebody up. Further, to Allison's exact point, I think I too would feel guilty leaving, especially a small business, hanging by being gone for an extended period of time. Now, I would feel way less guilty if I was working for some major corporation. But I feel this one because looking at our own podcasts, we're very small teams. If one of us is gone, it does have a pretty big impact, especially on air. So yeah. I feel that one a lot, and I don't want to work in corporate America. But if I did, I feel like that would be a major benefit, being able to leave work and feel less guilty about being gone, if it is a major corporation.
Essential workers, sometimes this is like where the guilt tripping comes into play, because I definitely remember working retail, and there are some managers that will make you feel super guilty for not being able to come in because you're sick. And so that's not even like PTO, that's paid sick leave, right? Which is obviously completely different. But the fact that like there are people out there that will basically bully you and just be like, well, can you just come in at least and like open so that the other person working doesn't have to open by themselves until we find someone to replace you? Or can you call around and find your own replacement? It's like, technically that shouldn't be your job if you're calling out sick, but they will make you feel like it is.
And the reason that I call BS on those mentalities, and honestly, even on the thought process of like, I don't want to take my PTO because I'd feel guilty that I'm leaving other people with more work. If your job gives you paid time off, you're entitled to it. And if wherever you're working falls apart because one person, takes a week off of work, there are bigger problems than you taking PTO.
And the problem is, look how important you are. You need a raise.
No, it could
kidding.
be a couple of things. It could be that there aren't enough resources. It could be, honestly, if you are the only person who can do what you do, that's a problem. Like working with multiple people and not being able to share that responsibility creates that issue down the line, and it just makes your life harder and everybody's life harder. So I say, fuck that. Be efficient, be accountable to your work, and take your PTO.
Yeah.
I understand some people are in more toxic work environments where it's harder. It's easier said than done. But if that's not the case for you, and you just have this like internal feeling of guilt that you're going to make somebody work harder because you're not there, bear in mind that if you have PTO you can take, so does everyone else, and they're going to take theirs. So why wouldn't you take yours?
I guess people just try to think of like, oh, I don't want to take any more than other people. Otherwise, I'm taking advantage of the system. I'm using scare quotes.
But then that's obviously a pitfall of unlimited PTO, which is what a lot of companies are shifting towards. And I would say that there are definitely people abusing that system as well. So you're basically like enabling somebody else to beat the system in that regard, if that's how you feel. You know, because there are some people that just give no fucks and they will take advantage of that. But a lot of them won't. And that's the issue.
One person who replied seems to have work for a pretty cool company. Kelsey said, my company has unlimited PTO with a clear expectation of 25 plus days, not including holidays or company shutdown the week between Christmas and New Year's. Leadership is bullish about everyone taking leave. I've seen people get called out for not taking enough.
Good.
I know unlimited PTO can be a way for companies to save money on unspent PTO payouts, but I wouldn't change it. So 25 plus days, that works out to about 2 a month, not including holidays and that week between Christmas and New Year's. Sweet.
That's pretty nice.
That sounds nice. Speaking of someone else who it seems like they have a nice setup, Sean says, my company lets us carry over up to 40 hours of PTO from one year to the next. So I usually save close to 40 to carry over in case of an emergency, but I take all of the rest of it. I used to work somewhere that did this, and it was really nice. Because you could always know that you could bank 40 just in case you needed it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would do too. I've also worked with people as well, though, that will just, anytime they accrue enough for a whole day, they'll just take it. I don't know how they live like that, because I would always be worried about whether or not I might need it somewhere down the line. Not necessarily for vacation, but like, what if I got really sick? Or what if like a family member got sick, or anything else that you could think of?
Yeah.
One of our longtime listeners, Stephanie, is giving a European perspective. Stephanie said, I take it all. Living in the UK, and she is American, by the way. Living in the UK, I get 5 weeks plus a break at Christmas, but also since my family is abroad, it all goes so fast because I usually spend a lot either visiting my family or on them coming here, so it never feels like enough. Europeans have it so good. I'm so jealous.
I know. I feel like a lot of American companies are starting to catch up in terms of having more humane paid time off policies. But sometimes we hear examples of American companies and we think, oh my God, that's so great. And then we hear about what the rest of the world gets as like their standard. And it's like, oh, well, I mean, like I have a couple of friends who they're in Europe, they're in France, and the maternity leave situation is incredible. I mean, they were both able to get, the father got like 8 months, 100% paid off, and the mother got like 18 months off that she was paid. It's incredible. Would never happen here. Could not be America. Justin says, I don't take all my PTO, but my job is pretty flexible where I can just take 2 to 3 hours off if I need to. So I probably take all the time, but I've had at least 2 weeks of PTO consistently for a few years now. We also have a rollover. So that seems like a good situation. But then we've heard from people who are in the service industry, right, who are servers, and obviously in those spaces, accrued PTO is generally not a thing. When I used to work retail and I worked part-time at Apple, part-time employees did not get vacation or sick time accrual. So if you were taking time off, you were just not getting paid. And, you know, if you're in a circumstance where you need, you know, every penny pinched and you need to work every shift you can so you can get by, it makes it a lot harder to take a vacation.
Yeah.
And you can't quiet vacation when you work retail. So,
well, should we get back to quiet vacationing then?
Sure.
I think that's a good idea. So, I mean, are we kind of in agreement with the internet's reaction here to Jennifer, who wrote this article? Like, do we feel like people should just do this if they can get away with it? Or is it kind of, you know, something that we take issue with?
No, I love this concept. As somebody who has always worked remote, I'm not exactly quiet vacationing, but I do love taking workations. I actually simply enjoy working from a hotel room lobby. It's normally not somewhere with... Yeah, well, it's funny you say that because I was just about to say, I normally don't have a view, but like, it's just... the room is different scenery. You go down, grab some hotel coffee, you come back upstairs. It's just refreshing to work in a different space. But why I also like workations is because maybe I'll work in the morning and then in the afternoon I'll go explore the town that I'm in. So there's definitely benefits to it. In terms of quiet vacationing, if you are working remote part-time or full-time, and you can get away with it, absolutely do it. Now, the other side of it, though, is you're kind of like paying more to go on vacation because you're spending money to be in that new place while earning the money. So it's almost like a net zero. Like, I would love to always be on the road and working, but I'm going to be spending money on hotel rooms and travel expenses and all that. So it doesn't make financial sense. If I was in a career where I was making a lot more money, it would, but it doesn't make sense for me right now. So I always think about that angle. And because I am paying to be somewhere else and with my current salary, I shouldn't go somewhere just to be working from a new space. That doesn't make sense. So I need to be actually vacationing when I'm on a vacation or a semi-workcation.
I think what I have a problem with in the whole conversation that got inspired by this article and even the article itself is that if somebody is taking a workcation or if they're quiet vacationing, that means they're being sneaky, because it doesn't have to be that way. I have definitely traveled to visit friends out of state who were also working. And the way that we managed that is we all worked our regular work days. I did all the same stuff I always do. And then in the evenings, when I was done for the day, we would get dinner, hang out, go do something, because we were all there together, but everybody still had to work during the day. So it doesn't just have to be somebody sneaking around, not having to use their PTO, and then like fucking off while they're actually at the beach or something. There are a lot of different ways you can approach this.
Yeah.
I would. So, for example, when I'm on a true vacation, like if I am going to the beach, if I have things that I know are like enriching and entertaining for me, I'm going to take my PTO and I'm not bringing any of my work stuff with me. I'm leaving it all at home because I don't want to think about it when I'm on vacation.
To your point about sneaking around, the featured image in this article is a picture of somebody on a dock right off the water with their laptop open. And I think that kind of struck a nerve with people because it's kind of saying, oh, everybody who's quiet vacationing is literally on the beach with their laptop.
Yeah.
That's just not the case.
Yeah.
And I could see, like, in a perfect world, a boss would know you're going on a workcation or, let's say, a quiet vacation, and you're still gonna get all your work done, but also trust you that you're gonna make yourself available your normal hours. You will work from a quiet space, or at least when you're in meetings, with good Wi-Fi. But I think there is a bit of a risk there, and that's maybe why some bosses might resist this idea, even if they are kind of a cooler boss. Because if you're saying, hey, you can go work from the Hilton in Santa Monica right on the beach, no problem. How do you know the Wi-Fi is going to be good? How do you know you're going to be able to attend a meeting and participate from a quiet space? Like, there's some factors that come along with working from a hotel room that might set you up for failure.
Yeah, that's my
definitely.
whole thing. And I think that's like, I think that you and I, Andrew, are a little bit like predisposed to think of all those things because, you know,
We've been there.
We're all about that freelancing life. And we also know that, like, we're not going to get paid if we don't deliver. So we worry about things like, you know, making sure that the deadlines are met and what have you, even if we're not at home to meet those deadlines. I definitely have friends that are really used to working from home or working remote now as a result of the pandemic. But it's so funny to hear how they freak out if, like, all of a sudden the Wi-Fi goes out. I'm like, dude, just go to the library, any library. They have day passes, free high-speed Wi-Fi. Go to Starbucks, go to Panera. And they're like, well, I don't want to leave the house. I want to stay in my pajamas. It's like, I don't know how to tell you that, like, you're like, you should just go and do that because that's what you said you would do, right? Like, my whole thought process is, like, you get the okay to work remote, and, like, barring, you know, not having like some kind of like high security job that requires you to be under like a certain Wi-Fi so nobody can like hack in and like access whatever sensitive materials you do for work, then, like, who cares if you're working from the beach or your favorite coffee shop and not at home? You know what I mean? As long as there's like no viable scenario in which you might have to run back to the office, or whether like you have to take a phone call where it's like noisy or whatever, then I think you should just be able to work wherever you want if you've already gotten the okay to work from wherever, you know, work remotely, what have you. But also, and like, it's your responsibility to make sure, like Andrew said, to make sure that you have good connection so you can get your stuff done. Because, like, that's what would piss me off if I had to pick up the slack for somebody that decided to do this.
You can always research in advance your cell phone reception too, the place that you're going. Does it have 5G? Does it have 5G ultra wideband, which is even faster? And then worst comes to worst, if the hotel Wi-Fi isn't working, you can set up a hotspot on your phone. I've been in that situation countless times. When we were in Phoenix in April, I had to upload a very large file, and the hotel Wi-Fi wasn't working. I also got in a situation where my cell phone wasn't uploading very fast either. But then I noticed the hotel had a iMac in the lobby, and I noticed it had an Ethernet jack, Ethernet plugged into the back of it. I was like, well, they're probably not throttling that connection. So I airdropped my big ass, like 40 gigabyte video file from my laptop to their iMac and then logged into YouTube from there and uploaded it in like 10 minutes. I was so relieved because I was in that situation where I tried to go to Starbucks's and even like a college campus, and I couldn't get good speeds at any of these places. That's the one tricky part about all this. If you're working with very, very large files, then you might run into some issues. But most people aren't. So other than that, you should be able to like make Starbucks Wi-Fi work.
Yeah. I also, and to that point, I wouldn't work from the beach remotely if I was trying to quiet vacation because there's no reception there. Like, who are you really kidding? You're not even going to be able to get on Slack or Teams to move your mouse around over there. So it looks like you're online.
Yeah, I mean, also, I don't want it. The beach is my happy place. The last thing I want to think about when I'm there is work.
Laura, you really don't like to go to the beach and taint tan and work from the beach there? Just let your taint hang out?
Yeah, I think that might be problematic. I'm just thinking about the sun exposure to that particular area. Like, are you going to put sunscreen on that? I don't think you are. So
I feel like that defeats the purpose of tanning it.
I don't know. I also feel, Andrew, I feel like you always ask me shit like this when it's something you're thinking about doing. You you want me to be the guinea pig for you, and I will not again.
Never mind. Okay, I'll just try it myself.
Report back to us. Let us know.
It's so bright. You have to squint to see your screen the whole time.
True
and I see
story.
people doing this, like laptop on the beach. Oh, how lucky am I? I'm like, not lucky at all. Like you have to squint at your screen, which makes working harder. Or they put a towel. I saw somebody put a towel over themselves and the fucking laptop.
Then what's the point of being there?
The sounds.
Oh,
I don't know.
It's a noise machine.
Seriously. I'm so glad you brought up the point of tethering too, Andrew, because Pam, when you were talking about your friend who was like, I'm going to freak out because I have no Wi-Fi, but I also just can't be bothered to go somewhere else. I'm like, okay, use your phone as a hotspot.
I know that too.
If you have a work from home job, you probably have the ability to do that.
Now, this all said, I love the idea of workations. I love, let's say, Zion National Park's like 2.5 hours from here. I love doing like maybe a half day working in the hotel room from Zion and then go out and frickin' explore this beautiful area. However, I would only do this type of thing if it's just me and Pat. I would not do this with a group of friends. Inevitably, when I am vacationing, there's gonna be something I gotta do that takes maybe 20, 30 minutes max. Nothing too crazy. So I'd be okay doing that with friends, but I'm not gonna do like a full work day or even a half work day if I'm on a trip with friends. If I'm on a trip with friends, or family, that's gonna be a true vacation for me.
That's nice. I've definitely been in the opposite end where I'll stretch myself a little bit too thin, but it's usually because I know that my friends are going to want to sleep in because they're on vacation time. So it's like, well, I get up early anyway, so I might as well just like, I can knock out half a day of work in the morning from like 7 to 10. And by 10, everybody's breakfasted up and they're ready to go.
I can't tell you how many times I've been there. I get up before Pat and I knock out some work before he gets up.
I feel like you and I are very much the same in that way because it's like, well, might as well.
Pat, can you walk the dogs too? Buy me an extra 20 minutes of work.
But I feel like that's also the difference between working for someone else versus being a freelancer.
Also, go get me a bagel.
Yeah, that's true. But because the other thing too is like worst case scenario, if you exhaust all options, you could just call your boss and be like, hey, I fucked up. Can I just take this as a personal day?
Yeah.
Who are Andrew and I going to call ourselves?
Yeah.
We could call each other.
Right. It's like, hey, Andrew.
You're talking about imposter syndrome. We can call each other and get that validation that we're looking for.
I'm just imagining how this call would go. Like, hey, Andrew, I fucked up. I'm not going to be able to work. And then Andrew will be like, that sucks, bruh. Like, guess
you're going to have to go outside.
Yeah. I guess you got to go touch grass.
Pretty much.
Little tip for people too, if you're in the Apple ecosystem. I actually told a friend about this the other day because he didn't know about it. If you're fortunate enough to have a Mac laptop and an iPad, you can actually use the iPad as a second screen. It's built into Mac OS, and I love this. I love using the iPad as a second screen while I'm remote. It's so helpful. So if you do have both of those devices, bring them with you and use this feature. I believe it's called Sidecar.
Well, there was also some Pew study research, right, Laura, that you found about U.S. workers. Do you want to walk us through a few of those points?
Yeah, this is really interesting. And we've It's funny because in our Patreon poll, we touched on a lot of the themes that came out of this survey, but Pew actually found that 46% of US workers don't use all of their paid time off for a lot of the reasons we've already discussed, being worried about leaving too much work for other people, even being worried about like how it'll affect your chances for getting a promotion, right? Or how it might affect people's perception of you. But it made me really pleased to see that 74% of our listeners who responded were like, fuck that, I take all my PTO. I was like, hell yeah, y'all, way to break the stereotype.
Yeah, that's pretty cool to see, actually. Our listeners are more inclined to take all of it.
Yeah, you should. And it's just like I said at the top of this, just like be on when you're working, be efficient, do your job. And then you don't need to feel guilty when you take PTO because you've done all the work you can and need to do when you're there. Set yourself up for success.
Yeah, and try to enjoy it. I almost said I get off on it. I really enjoy working from a hotel room. I do it several times a year, and I just think it's the best. All right, should we take an ad break here, and then we'll do the travel portion?
Yeah. Are we gonna quiet vacation while we take this ad break?
Sure, let's go with that.
Yeah, we're gonna come back, and you're gonna see us all on a beach.
Squinting at our screens,
Yep.
or throwing a towel over our head.
All right. Well, speaking of quiet vacationing, we are in the midst of travel season. Summer's basically upon us. We want to talk about travel in general here, specifically about like unspoken rules of traveling. I found this list that was curated by Travel and Leisure, and they kind of detailed, like I was saying, these like unspoken rules or travel taboos, if you will, that passengers should more or less abide by. A lot of these were pretty self-explanatory and kind of common knowledge, but I was kind of surprised by a few of them that feel like they could be a little bit controversial. So I wanted to read out 3 here and get your all's take on this. The first one has to do with reclining your seat on an These are all airplane rules, by the way. So in terms of reclining, 88% of people approve, but then there were also a third of passengers polled that said reclining is only acceptable on long and overnight flights. So do you all abide by this rule, or are you just reclining every time you get on a plane?
My policy is if the person in front of me is reclining their seat, then I'm going to recline mine to reclaim a little bit of that space back. I normally do not recline otherwise, unless it is an overnight flight and I'm trying to get some sleep, in which case, hopefully the person behind me... it doesn't make sense to me, because if the person behind you can recline, why shouldn't you recline?
Yeah.
Like, just do it.
Create the domino effect.
I feel like this is similar to like the like moving with traffic, like the moving with traffic rule, right? Like you shouldn't speed, but at the same time, if traffic is moving way faster than you, it's probably more dangerous for you to be going that slow. So you should like match what everyone else is doing to keep things flowing. In general, though, I feel like if you're the kind of person to recline your seat when no one else is reclining their seat, you're going to hell.
Yeah. I'm kind of like Andrew. I'll recline if the person in front of me reclines, but if I notice that the person behind me isn't reclining, then maybe I'll do just like a half recline. Unless it's
half
a
recline.
nighttime. Yeah, it's just a little bit.
The full recline is basically a half recline.
A little bit of relief. It makes me feel better about it.
Well, Brock in our Discord is saying, in all caps, if they didn't want you to recline, the seats wouldn't be able to recline.
Brock,
Yeah.
I feel like you're manifesting no reclining seats ever again.
The angle at which you actually do recline is so small anyway. It's
Yeah.
it's really not a big difference.
It does make some difference if you're straight up and the person behind you is, well, it's mostly if you want to use the table, right?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Like, speaking of workations, if you have a bigger laptop and the person in front of you reclines, that's going to push your laptop into your gut. So that's why it's better to have a smaller laptop or like a tablet on a flight.
Yeah, and if you have boobs
Yeah.
or just like a larger chest in general, then you're basically like spilling over onto your keyboard. Good luck getting anything done for that hour and a half flight.
Like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's irritating.
Well, here's another interesting one from Travel and Leisure. Apparently, 57% of people polled said that the middle seat shouldn't automatically get both armrests, which I feel like is interesting because I think we've even discussed on this show how, like, if you're in the middle seat, it's a shitty seat, so you do get both armrests.
Yeah. I have always thought that the standard was if you're in the aisle, you get the furthermost, out armrest that's in the aisle, and you have a little bit more like flexibility. It's easy for you to get up and go to the bathroom. If you're at the window seat, you have a wall you can lean against to sleep. If you're in the center seat, it's hellish. And the least that you can do for that person is let them have the armrest because they don't have anything else.
Yep.
It's true.
I agree with that. I'm surprised so many people think the middle seat shouldn't have automatic priority.
People are getting stingy.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, the seats are small.
Yeah.
The planes feel cramped, but
I mean, I don't want your elbow into my side, right? Like, stick to the armrest. But if you're in the middle seat and you want a little bit more armrest, I'm not going to fight you on that.
what's your default seat position? Like this? Like arms
No,
crossed?
it's this.
Oh, you're holding on to one of your arms?
Yeah,
Okay.
usually.
I cross my arms.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to touch anybody. I
Yeah,
don't want
that's
anyone to
true.
touch me.
Yeah, I cross. If I normally pick the aisle, so if the person in the middle has their arm on the armrest, I'm just keeping my arm down here if I can. Because also, if I have the laptop in front of me too, I have reason to keep my arms right here, right by my sides.
Mm-hmm.
So the last one here is that people said you should just go ahead and use the overhead bin for smaller items. This is 73% of passengers polled, and they said it's fine to ignore flight attendants and put things like jackets or small items
Okay.
in the
Guilty.
overhead
Straight to
bins.
hell.
Well, send me
Straight to
there
hell.
because I violate the rules all the time. I'm sorry. So I always bring a carry-on bag and then my laptop bag.
And you're putting both up there? Right away, or are you
Okay.
waiting to see if there's space?
I'm waiting, but not long.
Okay.
I'm putting up just my suitcase so the flight attendant doesn't see me putting up both at the same time. So I'll put here's the strategy, y'all. I want everybody to do this. Put the suitcase up there. You put your book bag on your chair. You pull out, your headphones, whatever else. Then you just throw the book bag up there. And if I find a spot, now the coat I will put under the seat, but I can normally fit the coat on top of my book bag or something like that. So I'll just squeeze it on top. Sorry, I want all the leg room. I can't have my book bag under the seat in front of me.
Wow.
Cancel me.
Wow.
Whatever.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to cancel you.
So Laura, you're a good girl. You'll put your bag under the seat in front of you.
Yeah, I always
Small
do.
bag?
If
Okay.
it can
Rule
actually fit
followers. Yeah.
under the seat in front of me, or like even semi-fit, I will put it there. And I can definitely see putting it up once everyone has boarded if there's additional room. Fine.
Yeah.
But the
Mhm.
fact that you start out that way, that's sus.
Okay, here's
sus.
another thing though. I have the United credit card that gets me on board early, so I want to claim.
That makes you even worse.
You're
Both of
special
my-
then.
Yeah, well, everybody should get a United credit card, I guess.
So you're not waiting long, but you have more time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really playing the system to my advantage.
Wow.
That's why I have the credit card, so I can make sure I can get both things up there.
Well, and I don't think that
You've also clearly never been shamed. There was one time where I didn't realize I was sitting right in the front row, and the front row doesn't have anywhere to put your carry-on in front of you because there's no seat in front of you. And so I tried to put my personal bag up in the overhead, and this lady behind me very loudly was like, "You can't put two things there." And I was like, "I don't know where to put my other thing." And she said it so loud, and everybody looked, and I was so embarrassed. And then I just had to like sit there clutching my backpack till the flight attendant came, and I was like, "Where am I supposed to put my personal?" I didn't realize that I wasn't going to have space in front of me.
See, I will say, I feel like the people who do that are also kind of obnoxious. Like,
They are.
if I see somebody putting a personal item up top, I might roll my eyes a little bit, but I'm not going to say anything because it's not that big of a deal at the end of the day. It's just annoying, and there are flight attendants there, and that's their job. So I'm gonna let them do their job, and if they want to call them out, they can. But I am not.
Well, speaking of traveling pet peeves, what are some of our other biggest ones?
I've got a couple. Some of them are like flight related. One of them's not. This one is specifically about traveling in groups. It drives me nuts if I'm traveling in a group that sort of operates under the assumption that everyone in the group must do everything together at every point of the vacation. Like, fuck off. I want solo time and alone time, and I want to go off and do my own thing part of the vacation. So I'm going to do that. I will say, in terms of airports, the Atlanta airport, Hartsfield Jackson, if you know, you know, it's a fucking cluster. And then if there are people who are very obviously sick, like with a cold or a flu, who are flying or on a bus or on a train, and they're like openly coughing and sneezing, I'm like, have you learned nothing? Why are you here?
That is frustrating. I guess if I'm playing devil's advocate, maybe they have to travel for some very important reason.
Well, at least mask up. You know, don't be like, or cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. The airplanes are so small already.
Yeah. And I feel like oftentimes
sneeze into your shirt.
People who are doing this don't.
No, they just let it fly. The last time I flew to the East Coast, there was this lady behind me hacking up a lung, and I could see even before I sat down in front of her that she just wasn't covering her mouth. And the whole time I was sitting in front of her, all I could think about was like the germs getting into my
flying
hair.
Through the air.
Yeah, pretty
all
much.
Those COVID
just like
animations
over into my side.
Yeah. Well, if one thing has stuck with me post-COVID, it's all those computer-generated animations of how germs travel in the air when you do sneeze, like how fast and far they travel when you cough, sneeze. And I always think of that like when I'm in the gym or traveling, like, oh God, there's germs everywhere. This is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Mine are actually all airline related, because that's where I get the most worked up when I'm traveling like alone and just have time to stew. First of all, talking on the plane. And luckily, most of the time, it does seem like most people do the majority of their loud talking when they're boarding, you know, they're settling in. And then by the time the plane takes off, people calm down. But it does always stress me out at the beginning of the flight. If you have loud people near you, I'm like, oh man, are they gonna be talking all flight? I don't want to be disturbed, and I've noise canceling headphones, but still you hear them.
The fact that you can hear them over whatever you're listening to, that's crazy. Because I was just going to say that I don't hear anything when I'm on the plane because I already have my headphones in.
Yeah,
yeah.
I get on with my headphones in, and also my ears pop and stuff due to altitude. So as the plane goes up, I actually feel the air pressure build up in my ears, and it makes it harder for me to hear people around me talking.
And you don't release it? You don't release that pressure?
I mean, I do for sure, but it just builds back up.
Whereas like nature's noise canceling.
Yeah. Plus my headphones, I'm in good shape.
I hate when people rush the gate prior to being allowed to board. You know, everybody crowds the entrances. Come on, people. We know how to do this these days. Back away until your gate is called. Let the United credit card girlies go in first and hog up all the overhead compartments, and then you can get in line. Also, speaking of noise, when people watch something on their phone or tablet without headphones. People do this.
Yeah.
And this has gotten more annoying in the TikTok era.
I was going to say, I kind of have an issue too with parents like not making their kids wear headphones too when they're playing games and stuff. 'Cause it's like, you can find comfortable headphones for kids.
And airlines often will hand out free over-ear ones. And I think,
And
they'll walk down the aisle sometimes.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, you got something free from the airport.
Mm-hmm.
Mine are kind of related. And the first one is like the people that like will just put their luggage in the front of the airline, like right when they board or in the front of the plane. And it's mostly because those are also the same people that are trying to cut ahead to get out first because they're anxious about getting their luggage. Just like if you're that anxious about being separated from your luggage or about people taking your things, then maybe you should put it closer to where you're sitting so you can like keep an eye on it.
I hate it when people do that.
Yeah. Like I don't mind if you stand up right when the airplane stops taxiing, but just like
that's me.
You know how it goes. Just let people go in the order that they were sitting in. It's fine.
Right.
Everybody's gonna get off the plane. Like you can wait 5 minutes. It's gonna be okay.
I saw an egregious example of this within the last year or two. Somebody immediately got up and just rushed towards the front as far as they could go. But as we all know, as soon as that seatbelt light comes off, people immediately jump up. So this person maybe got like a 5-second head start. It was enough to jump a few rows, but it was so clear, like the obnoxiousness that me and somebody across the aisle were like, what the fuck is up with this guy? And, maybe you're trying to catch your next flight, but normally they announce as you're taxiing, like, we have people who are on a tight connection. Please let them move to the front. I totally get that. But there was no announcement like that this time. I think the person was just trying to save some time to get off the plane faster.
Maybe they had to poop.
At least say, like, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The way this person conducted himself was just rude.
I actually feel like a lot of the time in my experience when they make that announcement saying, hey, we've got a few people on this flight who are going to Reykjavik and we're delayed, so they're really close to missing their flight. Please let them off the plane first. I feel like people don't listen to that. Everybody just stands up when you get to the gate anyway, and they don't really let the people who are trying to get on their international flight go first unless they're very insistent. And
Yeah,
it pisses
we're also
me off.
self-centered.
I'm just like, come on. Like,
especially at a larger airport like Atlanta. I went to Atlanta once, just in the domestic terminal. I swear to God, I walked 2 miles to get to where I was supposed to go.
Yep. That's why it's horrible. It's hell. Hell on earth. I hate the Atlanta airport.
It's hell. Hell on earth.
I could also just tell that the TSA agents are so over everyone's bullshit. Like, they're like, pull it forward, slide it back.
The amount of times a day they have to repeat all that crap and see the same nonsense every day. Yeah. All right. Well, good luck with your summer travels, everybody. And coming up in After Dark this week, the online dating app Hinge has let users start to prevent profiles with certain words, phrases, or emojis from appearing in their swipe queue. So in other words, you could say, if there's a profile with the eggplant emoji in it, I don't want to see that profile at all. Just completely hide it from me. So it's been interesting to see and hear what people are blocking from popping up for them in their Hinge app. And we're not just talking obvious emojis here. We're talking certain phrases too, like tacos. Somebody doesn't want to see the phrase tacos in any profile. We're going to talk about phrases that people are muting from being seen on Hinge. And we are going to present our respective Bumble BFF or OkCupid profiles to one another and let each other know if there's anything in it that is particularly cringe. So that's all coming up in After Dark this week.
After Dark is part of Mega Millennial, which you get every week when you're a patron or Apple Podcast subscriber. Plus, it's ad-free. Visit patreon.com/millennial to pledge today. Spotify users will find a banner at the top of our show page, or Apple Podcast users can tap into the show and subscribe.
We also have other Patreon benefits like live stream access, our monthly Zoom hangout, a new physical gift every year, and more. And it's easy to get started. Apple Podcasts and Patreon offers 7-day free trials and annual subscription discounts.
It's time for our recommendations. And 7-ish months ago, I came out of the closet here on the show and said, I think I noticed that my hair has been thinning. I would, just under certain lighting conditions, I'd be like, wow, I can really see into my scalp. This is a bummer, because I used to be told, oh, your hair is so thick. You have thick hair. And I'd always be like, thank you for calling my hair thick. Yeah, they stopped saying that, and I noticed it myself. So I told everybody that I signed up for hair regrowth pills from Hims. And I haven't had an update in a while, because they tell you right at the beginning, and I think this is common with hair regrowth pills and spray, that it takes a while to see a difference. And so, like I said, about 7 months have passed, and I'm happy to report that I really think my hair has gotten thicker. I didn't do a before or after thing, but the last time I got a haircut, my stylist, unprompted, unprovoked, told me I had thick hair. I hadn't heard that in years. I was like, ooh, thank you so much. And thank you, Hims. So if you're thinking of doing similar treatment, it has been proven to work. I don't know if it's going to work for everybody, but through Hims, I want to say it's around $150 for a 6-month supply. That's worth it to me. Yeah. And I do the hybrid chewables, and it's like a little tasty snack for me right before going to bed. They're like a cherry flavor. I love how they taste. So yeah, I've been happy with it.
You wake up in the morning and it just feels that much thicker. You're like, oh boy.
Oh, maybe I was born with it.
I wanted to recommend getting yourself an ice face roller, not any particular brand. Honestly, you can just get the cheapest one. And first of all, if you have a puffy face, this really helps if you wake up with puffy face. But it's been helping me a lot because I suffer from really bad allergies, and I wake up suffering from bad allergies because the medicine has already run its course through my body. So it's just been really nice to have. I actually have 2 on hand so that if I defrost one through use, then I have another one. Also good if you're a girl who cries, because you can depuff your eye area as well. But yeah, it just is really nice. It feels really soothing. It helps with sinuses too. So if you're not on this train already, you should definitely get there. I don't know if it actually works to help smooth out wrinkles or anything like that, but I just know that it makes my sinuses feel so nice. And again, it really just helps with depuffing because of allergies or crying.
I have one of these too that I just keep in the freezer, and every day I go out, pop it out, and
you just
I do a little rolling session in the morning. It
so
feels
nice.
good.
It does feel really good.
It feels really,
it's a nice
really
way to
good.
wake up too.
I like how Pam was or crying.
Yeah. Hey, I definitely haven't used it for that. I feel like we're thematic today with our recommendations. I want to recommend an eye massaging mask. Yes, I'm one of those people who got influenced by TikTok because I was seeing this shit everywhere. I ended up getting one because, first of all, a lot of these are FSA eligible. So if you have a flexible spending account through your work and you have funds that you need to spend before the rollover period, you should get one of these. They're like $50-$60, and they use heat and air pressure to give you a massage around your eyes and your temples. It feels so good. I think I am probably the most unattractive that I've ever been when I'm using this thing, because I will conk out 2 minutes into using it because it's like I'm getting a heat massage on my face, and I will literally be open mouth, head lolling, because it feels so good. So you should definitely get one of these. There are so many different brands that you can get, but I mean, I think they're all made by the same 1 or 2 companies. But if you look it up on Amazon, you'll find several different ones, and they're great.
I'm so glad you brought this up because I hear that these are really good for migraines. And I've been like dubious about whether or not to believe all these people that have sponsored posts on TikTok. So I'm influenced now because you've influenced me and I trust your word.
Listen, especially while I've been going through COVID, I've had a lot of sinus pressure and just discomfort. And using this thing, it's been great. It's funny because when I first got it, it was like right after I tested positive, I was using it and Mark was like, oh, I want to use it. But at that point, he was still testing negative. So I was like, well, I don't think you should because you don't have COVID yet. And then as soon as he popped positive, he was like, give me that shit.
The one
I was actually going to ask
being
if
positive.
you had both gotten it or if he had, escaped unscathed. So
no,
it's too bad to hear.
Yeah, we're in an
Suffering
800
together.
square foot apartment with one bathroom. There was no way.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening, and make sure you're following the show in your favorite podcast app so you never miss a new episode. And we would love a review in Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
To stay in touch with us, email millennialshow@gmail.com or visit millennialshow.com. While you're there, you'll also find all of our links to the various places you can find us on social media. Spotify users can also leave feedback directly within the episode.
After Dark starts in a moment for patrons and Apple Podcast subscribers. Thanks everybody for listening. I'm Andrew.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Pamela.
I am Laura, she says through the soft COVID.
I know. Honestly, every now and then I feel mostly normal and then it'll just get me. And I'm like, I sound like I've been smoking for 30 years.
That little COVID devil rears its ugly head.
Yep.
Don't you forget about me. It's time for long COVID now.
That faint line on the test, it's still coming for me.
Thanks everybody for listening. Bye.
Bye.